Hello everyone, I'm Tony Southcott and welcome to another edition of 5 Facts. Today we're talking about It Follows, the 2014 hit from David Robert Mitchell. The movie itself was lauded for its originality and for crushing its budget, earning nearly 20 times its cost at the box office. Though it has similarities to horror franchises like Nightmare on Elm Street and It, the film found a new wrinkle to this style of horror film and relished in its attention to detail. Without any further ado, let's just get to the facts. Fact number 1. Let's take a moment to talk about the rule for the entity or the its in this particular movie. Director David Robert Mitchell has talked about the rules for the monsters chasing down their mark. Most of what we know are what the characters have actually figured out. The rules haven't been full-on set in stone by Mitchell, and this is stuff that the characters have learned from the things that they see. If there's a sequel, they could possibly change a little bit or have some different things revealed. The entity itself is invisible, but it is corporeal. It can't go through walls, can't just magically appear on things. Even though there are some slight inconsistencies where one of these appears on the roof, it's still something where it could have climbed to, but it didn't make sense for it to do that. We know that no matter where you go, it will eventually catch up with you. Mitchell has said that someone of exceptional means could travel the world to keep it at bay for months at a time, but that the entity could possibly board a plane or a ship in an effort to get to you, so it wouldn't just be like, okay, it has to swim. Some Redditors actually did the math on this and saying that they could walk for maybe 5 kilometers an hour without sleep, without anything like that. If you were to take a plane from America to Australia, it would take about 167 days for it to reach you. So not exactly an impossible plan, but you would have some good peace and quiet for a little bit. Say you come back at day 150 or something like that. It was also said that any type of sex counts. It doesn't matter if it's heterosexual, homosexual, or anything in between. If you ever have sex, you are transferring it to the other person. Some people have asked if getting to third base technically counts for this. We haven't got an answer for that. He was just laughing at the question. It was also asked if condoms would protect the people from having this transferred, and the answer is no, it would not protect you. You would still get the entity to follow you if you had sex with a condom. Many people have talked about bunkers, and basically that would work, but you would definitely want to have a second entrance because it would simply wait at your door until you actually opened it up. There are a lot of other rules that people seem to apply, but these are the ones that seem to be hard and fast. Fact number 2. The inspiration from this movie came from a dream. David Robert Mitchell has said that the movie came from a recurring nightmare in his childhood where he was being stalked by a monster. The monster was a predator that always walked slowly towards him, never speeding up, just following nice and slow. This actually reminds me of a poem from Stephen Dobbins called Pursuit. Glancing over my shoulder, I see its shape, and so move forward as someone in the woods at night might hear the sound of approaching feet and stop to listen. Then, instead of silence, he hears some creature trying to be silent. What else can he do but run, rushing blindly down the path, stumbling, struck in the face by sticks, the other, ever closer, yet not really hurrying or out of breath, teasing its kill. It's definitely something that you see in nightmares, especially recurring nightmares where something is chasing you down, whether that's an interpretation of life's anxieties or any number of things. It really is something that even I've had dreams for, so I can totally relate to this. Fact number 3. The movie itself feels like a dream, and that's intentional. While we know that this film was inspired by a dream, it was also filmed that way. There's a reason why the seasons are so out of whack, why it looks like summer but you see people in sweaters, why they're on the beach suntanning but they're in leggings. There's just a lot of strange inconsistencies that happen with the clothing. And that's partially because Mitchell didn't want this to be able to be placed for a time period, and also because he didn't want it to feel like anything was really grounded. It's the same reason why the cars are mostly from the 60s and the 80s. The only time we see something newer and in fact see a normal cell phone is at the very beginning of the movie, which makes some people think that the beginning of the movie actually happens in the far future and the following entity has actually just been doing its thing for a long time. Also in this, technology is completely ambiguous. You only see large CRT TVs, but you also see like a high-tech like clamshell thing that doubles as an e-reader and light. Something that's completely just not real. It kind of looks like a compact mirror or a makeup kit. All this is meant to give each scene a little bit of a surreal quality, one that doesn't feel quite grounded or feel quite entirely real. That's not to say that this movie actually is a dream, just that it's meant to feel like one. Fact number 4. The house Hugh hides in is perfectly laid out to prevent getting stuck with the entity. I'm not sure how intentional this was or if this is the place where they found a film, but the old house is American Foursquare, in which all the lower level rooms are interconnected. Like you have the living room, the vestibule, the kitchen, and the dining room, and it basically makes a complete circle with none of these rooms being cut off from the other. It's a really good layout if you don't want to get cornered, and then you've got like bathrooms and stuff off to the side, which would be a very terrible thing to happen if you ended up getting caught in there, but otherwise the floor layout is done very well. The upstairs is a little bit less protected, but he put things on all the windows, and it looked like there were a lot of ways to get out from up there. Once again, I'm not sure if this was a full-on intentional thing or if it's just where they picked to film, but if you were going to be hiding out in a house, this is definitely the type that you'd want to do it in. Fact number 5, popcorn facts. Popcorn facts is whenever there's no huge meaty fact to take out, but there's a bunch of small ones that I liked, so here we go. Mike Lanier, who plays the very tall It, is a 7'7" Detroit resident who designs engines for General Motors, and is one half of the world's tallest twins. He's probably one of the scary ones we see in this entire film, by the way, like just the way he appears in the hallway. One of the first times that we see Jay see this character. Another fact, the colors of red and pink are used to foreshadow the upcoming appearance of It as they appear either in the background or on a character's piece of clothing whenever it attacks. Same with balls, it kind of happens with both reds and pinks and with balls. J is short for Jamie, a tribute to Scream Queen Jamie Lee Curtis. As most of you could tell, It Follows took a lot from Halloween, and having this little nod on there is just another little fact. I found it interesting that the parents are pretty much out of these kids' lives. We don't see the mother clearly in any of the scenes in this entire movie. We see her face obscured, we see her drinking during the day, we see her just kind of removed from these kids' lives. There are a lot of theories about this, mostly concluding that Jay's father either died or committed suicide. It's left a little bit ambiguous. I kind of like that they didn't spell it out, but if you look at the pictures on the wall, the character at the end of the movie, the one at the pool, is in those, and the girls are very young in the pictures, but the dad is that exact same age, so he hasn't aged at all. I think that a lot of the reason why the mom is out of the picture, why there's kind of this underlying sadness to everything in the movie, is because the father probably committed suicide or died. There's no full evidence of suicide, but it just had that kind of feel to it with the alcohol abuse and everything else going on, and kind of the somber tone between the sisters at times. Last fact, there are some tentative plans for a sequel, but they're still trying to figure out if that's going to happen. If it does, there's been talk that they would basically be trying to go back up the chain and see where this all started. Slow pursuit has been part of the horror genre for ages. Halloween and movies like that have given us a feeling of being unable to get away, even when the killer only walks at us. That these predators are unstoppable nightmares that will chase us to the ends of the earth. It Follows took that to heart, giving a relentless and form-shifting entity literally from the nightmares of its director. There's a lot that's been said about this film being a story about sexually transmitted diseases, or about the baggage that lovers can impart on their partners. I'm still trying to figure out if it's that simple. I'm not sure I buy the STD angle because the pattern doesn't fit. Whenever you sleep with somebody after having an STD, you don't just all of a sudden not have the STD anymore. I guess in some ways it can come back to bite you, but it just doesn't seem like it fully fits the right pattern there. I know that you would be able to see the thing afterwards, but I don't think it quite works out that way. It seems more to speak to the beginnings of lost youth. A more brutal coming of age where best laid plans seem to fail. Sex only complicates, and life is never quite what you expect it to be. It shows the struggles of these teens, whether it be grass laid across limbs like someone who cuts, or simply longing for the simpler times of childhood like Hugh said at the beginning. Maybe it's not quite so serious as all this and we should take it a little bit more at face value, but it's always fun to figure out what's going on. Most of the questions I hear about this movie aren't about the underlying meaning, but more about how you would survive the thing that's following you. I've heard everything from becoming an astronaut to escape the entity, or having a giant orgy so you just have partner after partner after partner after partner, like going with each other. There are some problems with that, like especially if the other people don't know what's coming. It could, if you don't tell them exactly what's happening, it could just rush through a line and get through people rather quickly. So, in the comments, tell me how you would survive this particular entity, how you would do it, and basically like what you thought of the movie. I love hearing what you guys think about these sorts of things, see if we're on the same page. I know that this movie's a little more divisive than some that we've talked about. I thought it was really good, but I can see the point when people didn't quite say it lived up to expectations. It was rather hyped, but I want to know what you thought. If you enjoyed these reviews, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/humanechoes. There's a link at the end of this video, and it's a great way to support us. It starts at $2 a month, goes up to $20 a month, $2, $5, all that stuff gets you postcards, pins, access to the bonus podcast, lots of really cool stuff here, so go ahead and check that out. If you can't afford that, that's awesome. Just hit subscribe, leave a like, tell your friends. Thank you all for hanging out. We will see you in 2 weeks with another 5 Facts.